Read aloud of pages 6 and 7. Playing through pain. Today, some 2.8 million kids in the US play football. For many of them, football is more than a game. It's a way to build discipline and character. It can also be a way to pay for college and, for the lucky few, a ticket to some of the best schools in America. But over the past decade, America's favorite sport has come under intense scrutiny for the high rate of brain injuries among players of all ages. Now remember, scrutiny being one of our vocabulary words means it's coming under investigation and criticism. People are looking closely at it because a lot of kids are getting hurt. Until recently, knocks to the head were considered just another part of the game. Tough guys played through the pain. After a hit to the head, many returned to the field with blurred vision, aching temples, and stumbling steps. Toughing it out was seen as a sign of strength and loyalty to teammates. Over time, this attitude trickled down to younger players. Zach had grown up watching football stars treat their heads like battering rams, colliding with their opponents with ferocious force. Video games like Madden NFL showed players staggering along the field with serious head injuries. Sportscasters ran highlight reels that celebrated the most brutal hits of the week in college and professional football. So, it's easy to see why, less than 15 minutes after his injury, Zach decided his team needed him. Zach didn't realize he'd suffer a serious brain injury. He didn't know that he'd be returning to the game. He was risking brain damage or even death. Ticking time bomb. Zach's coach looked him over. A concussion, also known as a mild traumatic brain injury or mild TBI, is an invisible injury. It leaves no outward marks. Without special training, even some doctors can't detect one. So when Zach said he felt fine, his coach did what many coaches did when a star player said he felt well enough to play. He sent Zach back out to the field. Zach played like a champion through the second half of the game. He sprinted, blocked, and made key tackles. Meanwhile, his injured brain was a ticking time bomb. Each small hit and jolt pushed his brain toward disaster. In the game's final seconds, Zach raced after the other's team running back. He crashed into him, forcing a fumble. It was a game-winning play for Zach's team, but there would be no celebration. Barely a minute later, Zach collapsed. His brain was bleeding and swelling, pushing against his skull. The pain was bleeding. Zach drifted in and out of consciousness with his frantic parents and coach by his side. He was airlifted to a hospital where surgeons were working feverishly to save his life. They removed large sections of his skull to relieve pressure, but that night Zach was in a coma. And if we remember, a coma is when you are out of consciousness. It would be 3 months before he opened his eyes, 9 months before he could speak, and nearly 2 years before he could eat on his own. He would need care for the rest of his life.